Howdy guys, Rex here. Long time no speaky. Still alive and well. Just wanted to come on here and say howdy. I don't really got a big agenda of what I want to talk about, but I just wanted to come on here and say hi. Hope everyone had a good year, 2020. People are laughing at that. You ain't seen nothing yet. Baby. No, it's just getting started, guys. I hope that you've kind of built up enough character over the last year to kind of motivate you and prime you to find that well of fortitude. At least start drilling for it, because you're going to need a lot of fortitude the way it's going to go. So just wanted to share that with you. But no, 2020 has been a good year. In the last 6 months, I've been pretty darn busy with a variety of different projects. A couple really big ones that are probably going to take me my whole life. And so I'm making sure I offer up the proper attention in those directions. A lot of that does not exist in this little electric window thing that everyone has. Because Earth does not revolve around, as you guys know, the electric window. At least it shouldn't, okay? And if it does, we all need to figure out a way to kind of discipline ourselves to start getting away from that deal and start becoming comfortable with actual reality once again. Because that's going to be the only long-term solution, I think. Okay? And so I got to put my money where my mouth is and actually do what I preach all the time, right? So that's what I've been doing. What have you guys been up to? I know there's a variety of different situations around the world and around the country. You know, different levels of silliness going on depending on where you live at. Where I live, it's mostly still kind of normal. Like, it's not really all that different. Pretty blessed where I'm at. So that's good. I mean, there's things that a guy could complain about or whatever, but I mean, that would be my choice to choose to be upset about it then. And as good as it sells, I'll just be happy. There's an old song, classic. Back when I was listening to it, it scared the bejesus out of me because it was heavy rock, hard rock, metal, right? Peace sells, but who's buying? By Megadeth. Good song. And it's true. A lot of the stuff that's in there is 100% true. Like, who's going to buy the idea of something normal happening or peace, right? So, like, everyone's got to have the full-bore outrage at all times, right? And, like, if I just sit here and be all peaceful and be all nice and happy and, like, just be normal, it ain't going to sell near as good as if I come on the channel and be like, let me tell you something. And I've done that for a few years because it is fun. I will admit, man. Like, if you want to go off on that rabbit trail, it's a lot of adrenaline. And for us adrenaline junkie type guys, it's fun. But it's exhausting. And it's not really warranted. And it's definitely not the solution. I think the best solution is, like we've been preaching at forever, just becoming less dependent on what other goofballs do. Right? So with all the silliness 2020 brings, how much of it was brought by us? How much of the silliness of this last year was brought by us? Like, we chose to, like, zoom in on something that was really stupid, like a microscope, and then magnify it, and then dive into the middle of it and go, oh my God, help me. Like, yeah, we can do that if we choose. How much of it was brought by us and how much it was brought by some external deal that was forced upon us? A fair deal was forced upon everybody, I think, for sure. But I think a huge majority of the stuff that's on the inside especially is not, like, beyond our control to just kind of like, nope, not going to do that. I think that the big solution is having things that you rely on, drilling that well of fortitude into a formation that is disconnected from all that silliness. There's an old saying, I think it's by Plato, that says something to the effect of like, hey, if you guys don't want to get involved in politics, okay. Because, like, Plato is exhausted by the stupidity of people. And he's like, yeah, I get it. Like, if you don't want to play politics, but if you don't play politics, you're going to be ruled by your inferiors. Is that true or what? It's like 100% true. I'm just not gonna say any more past that, because some of them I like, okay, but like, it's so true. Like, oh my gosh. Everyone just wants to like have the good life, right? But nobody's willing to step in there and start swinging, right? Yeah, myself included. Like I wouldn't. To me, it's like diving into a swimming pool of the most disgusting stuff you can imagine, right? I just don't want to go there. And so there are ways to kind of evade most of what is going to come, and you guys probably know what it is. There's a whole variety of things. Basically, there's going to be enough weight put on people to where they choose to completely submit to whoever it is that's doing the pinch down. That's always been the way of the world. Every king has done that. Every tyrant has done that. Every revolution was trying to get away from that. But dig this. What if the revolution was in your own deal, right? Like, so many people want to force that revolution on everyone else so that they can still benefit from the system the way it was. Think about it outside the box, though. Like, if you were truly independent, like if you were your own water, you had your own water, you had your own food, and you had your own tools, and you had your own little community of your family, and that's it, and you didn't really need all that other stuff. If you didn't rely on those goofballs, then what beef would you have with them? They would simply exist over there, and you would simply exist wherever you're at. And it wouldn't be like a big scary deal anymore, right? Or it'd be way less. No, of course, they can always like try to come and like invade your space or whatever. Well, that's a whole nother deal, I suppose. But then, you got to think about that deal. Okay, well, then you got to be able to maneuver or deal with it or whatever it is, right? But like 90% of it is a failure on our part to truly be independent from them. Now, that's easier said than done, right? Super hard, as I'm driving here in my automobile, talking at an electric window of magic, right? But it starts first. It's like, there's an old saying, how do you eat an elephant? How does a pygmy eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. You start off with one deal, and you take a bite, you chew it, digest it. Start off with where your heart is at first, where you are at psychologically, where you are at in terms of your spirits. Understand what eternity is compared to this little tiny piece of life. And all of a sudden that stuff doesn't have near as much leverage on you. And then after that, you start to do things like, okay, let me get squared away and make sure I own the property that I at least live on. That'll help. And then let me try to like get my own water well that's not dependent on power so that I won't die of thirst. Okay, now you got a roof over your head and you got water. That's a huge deal. Maybe your own furnace that you can power with whatever resources you have on your property. That's a great deal, right? Those are things that are not impossible to accomplish, but there's something to work towards. And if you're working on stuff like that, you're going to have a lot more positive outcome than you are if you're trying to fix 8 billion people's ideas. It's not going to happen. I guarantee you, no matter how much screeching, how much yelling, how much stuff you can write, or how many posts you can share, or whatever, you're never, ever going to out-leverage 8 billion people trampling off a cliff. Not going to happen. The best thing you can do is step out of the way. So like with this whole situation in the world, 2020, 2021, all the impending stuff that's coming down, it's like Godzilla. You ever see the movie Godzilla? The giant, huge dinosaur is like 100 times bigger than a normal dinosaur. And it's, imagine Godzilla's coming at you, and he's taking a big, giant, huge, slow motion step, and he's going to crush you. What's the best thing to do? I'm going to tweet a lot about it. That'll learn him. Godzilla's going to step. If everyone only understood that Godzilla's going to step on us, then we can do something. Okay, tell me how much your great knowledge of Godzilla is going to save you. That's a funny Western mindset thing where people think that like knowledge with no actions is going to save them. Like standing on the railroad tracks. Oh, I know that the Burlington Northern train is going at 72 miles an hour and it has this many metric tons of weight. And it's, therefore it's this much, however newtons of energy is going to smack me. But then you don't get off the damn railroad tracks. You just stand there while it runs you over. So you knew everything about the train. You can even know the conductor's middle name. But if you stand on the tracks as the train's coming at you and don't choose to do something with that knowledge that you know about, then it doesn't help you a whole lot. In fact, it just made your whole existence more miserable. And when you go review the test answers at the end, you're going to get smacked around more. Like, what the hell? You did not only know that you were standing on train tracks, you also knew there was a train coming. You even knew how big it was and who the guy was driving it. Why did you still stand on the tracks? Well, because I thought that if I knew more, that would make me more powerful. No. More knowledge only brings you more sorrow, especially if you don't do anything about it, right? And usually the best thing to do with a train coming, we're going to fight it. We're going to fight the train. Everyone get some toothpicks and some hot glue, and we're going to make a barricade. And you're making like some kind of thing. Like, that ain't going to freaking help you. It's too big. It's moving too fast. It's beyond what you can do. So the best thing to do is go like this. Walk like 5 steps off to the side, let it drive past you, and then that's it. There. I didn't get hit. Or you can proudly, I refuse to move from this spot because I have pride in stuff. Like, this train's coming, but I'm not moving. The train's going to have to move. Okay, you're going to freaking get run over. And a raccoon's going to live in your rib cage when it's all done. Sorry. But that's kind of how it is. Logos, the Greek concept of knowledge. Power is knowledge. No, it's not. Only when you use it. And so if you look at the Eastern mindset, it's interesting. People in the East, and I've taught about this in a concepts class earlier this year. I won't go into too much detail on it, but this one's like you have to know about this. You have to know about it, see? So that you can do something, okay? But there's a concept called dabhar, okay? And that's an Eastern mindset towards like knowledge by itself is useless. You have to have knowledge carried out through the works of your hands so you have an action. Like, that's the point of knowledge, is to like bring forth and manifest an action that you do. That's the gold. Not only do you know there's a train coming and you're on the tracks, so you know about the danger, you know that you're in the danger. And then simply the third thing is you just walk out of the danger. You don't stand on the railroad tracks. There, crisis evaded, right? And so many of us can do that in so many ways. And the people, I think, understood that as a first step, which is good. And that's not the end game, though. You have to understand it, but then you have to like physically do the things to get off of the train tracks. Like, you have to like get up, and then you have to like put the one foot over here, and you gotta like walk over and then wave as the train drives by. It's not super hard, but for some reason it is. It's funny. It's like Western mindset puts so much emphasis and so much weight on just raw information and like, I'm smart. Define that. Because like a 3-year-old kid could understand that there's a train coming and want to not stand on the tracks. He'll get out of the way. Right? And a lot of adults are like, they got all this package they bring to it. They got to like impress you with their great knowledge of how much they know about the train that's going to... All you need to know is that it's too big to fight. Right? Now that analogy, I don't want anyone to take that and, put it in the wrong direction. But like, I hope that kind of explains a point of like, knowledge without you doing something about that knowledge is kind of moot, right? And so what's the one thing that you can do? Well, you can choose what you and your house is going to do. What are you going to do about it? Pastor Joe Fox from Viking Preparedness does a great job pounding that point home. Very helpful to me because I'm a guy that gets so bent out of shape. I get invested into stuff with my pride. I want to wear the jersey and be like, those sons of... They can't tell me what to do. I'll learn them. I'll show them what them constitutions and patriotism's going to do to them. I'll show them. Like, yeah, okay. Like, but like, what are you actually going to do about it besides yell at stuff and then just like peacock, right? Like, becoming independent's a big deal, right? Then you have the mobility to do whatever you need to do and the freedom, right? Freedom to do whatever you need to do to not be affected as much by those things. So like, make sure you got your stuff paid off. You don't have a big debt above you. Make sure you got some kind of, water, food, stuff like that, protection. Basic needs is not a huge amount of stuff to remember. But that should keep most of us busy during this time. It's still a time of prosperity. I was talking to another brother of mine today, about some of this stuff, and he mentioned, he's like, hey, this is like we're still in Joseph's time of prosperity. Now, if you guys remember the old story about Joseph kind of had a clue from interpreting the Pharaoh's dream that there would be 7 years of plenty followed by 7 years of famine. And so Joseph took that knowledge, that he knew, that intel, if you will, and put it into action. And he was vice president of Egypt after that because he got him so rich, because they stored up food and prepared for 7 years. And then all of the other countries around him came and had to like depend on freaking Egypt for all the basic stuff they should have had squared away. And so we are in that time of plenty still, because you still have the ability to make money. I know that a huge part of the economy has been turned off. So many people are just want to sit there and pout and be like, well, my job got, messed up, therefore I'm just going to sit here until they turn it back on. Well, you'd like, okay, that's a choice you can make, but you can adapt and overcome too. That's a thing that's important for survival, right? Like, if you wanted to shoot a deer from this one hill so that you could get your big deer you're going to shoot, and then the deer walked to a different hill, you can sit there and pout all day long about the deer not being on the hill you wanted to shoot it from. Your plan didn't work. You're gonna starve unless you like walk over there and like follow the thing and then get it, right? So same thing is true with where we're at today. We're still in a time of plenty right now. There's still all kinds of ways to get what you need done. So many of us have pissed away so much of our wealth that we've had for our whole lives buying stuff we don't need. I can make a giant list. Luxuries that are unnecessary. You need a roof that you own. You need water. That's a little bit expensive if you got to drill a hole, but it's not more expensive than like a new four-wheeler or a really fancy gun, or not more expensive than like cable TV for a few years with all your 8 million different electronic devices that you don't need to entertain yourself, right? You can drill a hole instead of do all that stuff. And then you have water, your own well. You can have your own cistern. And you can plant some trees. And those trees will bear you fruit and attract animals so you can eat them. Once you do that, that's like time much better spent, I think, than sitting there assuming that like we can tweet, we can post our way out of this, we can, I don't know, like keep yelling at how bad stuff is. We physically have to take that information. We have to, by now we should know, humans are unreliable, right? Even the good ones. How many guys do you know that like to wear the uniform of the Patriot, right? Like, I'm a Patriot Constitution guy, until they have to do something. Some of them will do stuff, but like once it goes beyond getting your picture taken and having a cool title above the picture, like here's me being like a Patriot guy, like, you mean they actually have to do stuff? I'm out of here. You know what I mean? That's like 98% of the community, but I'm not going to stand here and yell at it all day. I'm just going to like continue to do what I do. Like, okay, that's cool, man. I'm going to continue to do what I do. I'm going to continue to get more and more prepared, you know, make more connections of, you know, stuff where I actually have leverage. It's like anything else in life. If you're doing something and it's not working, you don't just keep doing it forever and exhaust yourself. You gotta continue to adjust. You know what I mean? Like if you're trying to screw a board to the wall and you're drilling through a knot and you don't want to go, you keep bending nails or whatever, trying to pound a nail into the whatever, you know, like you got to pick a different spot, right? If you keep fishing in the same hole, no fish come out. You got to adjust your lure, adjust your fishing technique, or move to a different fishing hole. Like you don't just sit there forever and cry that there's no fish. You got to adjust. So that's my main message, I think, for 2020 is like we all learned that the earth is plenty silly. There's no doubt that humans are silly. And there's no doubt that politicians maybe don't have your best interest at heart. So rather than expecting everyone else in the universe to come and do exactly what you want them to do, why would we expect them to do that? Rather than expecting everyone else in the universe to do all those things we think they ought to do so that we can live comfortably, maybe just say, okay, cut the ties with that deal. Go and do what you know you can do with you and your house, you and your family, you and your close ones. Get that stuff squared away, and you realize that, wow, I did a full day's work and it actually got a lot of stuff done. Because I'm telling you, you can yell at the electric square box, yelling at politicians for your whole life, and they'll still be goofballs. Did you know that? So let them do it. That's their job. They're here to test us. Keep walking, man. Walk off the railroad track when they drive by. Get back on. Keep on the journey. All right. I don't know. That turned into a rant. There, you guys happy now? I ranted. Hold on. I gotta look angry. Let me tell you something. We're gonna have to fight him off. Maybe, but like that's not right. You happy now? Hey, Happy New Year to all you guys that count the New Year by January 1st. I don't agree with that January 1st counting business. That's crazy. But for those of you that do, Happy New Year to you. All right, Rex out.